I never thought my greatest innovation would be my downfall. For years, I built algorithms that predicted human behavior, but I failed to see the betrayal coming from those closest to me. The app that changed the digital landscape, the one that made Apex Digital $200 million in revenue in just months, was torn from my hands the moment it became valuable. But they overlooked one crucial detail in their greed. I always build a backdoor. I always leave myself an insurance policy. Before I dive into this story, let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear what happens when corporate executives underestimate the very genius they hired to solve their problems. My name is George Wilson. Growing up in Seattle, I was always the kid dismantling computers instead of playing sports. My parents bought me my first PC when I was 8, and within months, I had taught myself basic programming. By 12, I was building simple games that my classmates would line up to play during lunch breaks. My teachers called me gifted. My peers called me weird. I was fine with both. College was where I thought I would finally find my tribe. Carnegie Mellon had one of the best computer science programs in the country, and I arrived with high hopes of collaboration and innovation. My professors recognized my talent immediately. Professor Jameson even called me the next Bill Gates after I submitted an algorithm that optimized database queries 30% faster than the industry standard. But while my technical skills earned respect, my social awkwardness kept me isolated. My ideas were brilliant in the classroom, but often stolen in group projects. I learned the hard way that innovation without protection was just charity for the opportunistic. After graduation, I bounced between tech companies, always the same story. I would develop groundbreaking solutions only to watch as managers presented them as their own at executive meetings. At DataCore Solutions, my recommendation engine increased customer retention by 40%. My manager David got the promotion. At Quantum Technologies, my security protocol became their flagship product. The VP of Engineering, Lisa Morgan, received the industry award. I grew cautious, protective of my ideas. I learned to document everything to build evidence of my contributions before sharing them. But still, I dreamed of creating something truly revolutionary, something that would carry my name and change how people interacted with technology. The inspiration came on a Tuesday night in October, after being passed over for promotion at RapidStream Technologies. I had spent 6 months rebuilding their user interface, only to be told I lacked leadership qualities. That night, fueled by frustration and 3 cans of energy drink, I stared at user engagement metrics across various platforms. There was a pattern no one had noticed. A rhythm to how users engaged, disengaged, and re-engaged with applications. If properly analyzed, it could predict with stunning accuracy when a user would abandon an application, and more importantly, what would bring them back. By dawn, I had coded a rough prototype. By the weekend, I had tested it against historical data from public APIs. The results were staggering. My algorithm predicted user behavior with 83% accuracy, far beyond anything on the market. This was not incremental improvement. This was a paradigm shift. I called it Predict Engage. With limited resources, I refined it for 2 months in my apartment, running simulations during the day and coding improvements at night. Initial tests with volunteer users showed even greater potential than the historical data had suggested. Users exposed to content recommended by my algorithm stayed engaged 3 times longer than control groups. I needed resources to take it to market, but I was determined not to make past mistakes. I prepared a presentation that revealed the potential without exposing the core mechanics. I reached out to mid-sized tech companies rather than giants who could afford to drown me in litigation if things went south. Apex Digital responded within days. They specialized in content delivery platforms, but had been losing ground to bigger competitors. My presentation deck arrived on CEO Amanda Harris's desk at the perfect moment. The meeting was scheduled for the following week. Apex headquarters occupied a renovated warehouse in downtown San Francisco. Modern furniture and bright colors couldn't completely hide the startup anxiety that permeated the place. They were hungry. I could use that. Amanda greeted me personally. Tall, confident, with a warmth that seemed genuine. She had built Apex from a 3-person startup to a company of 200 employees. I respected that. "Your predictive algorithm could be exactly what we need to differentiate ourselves," she said after my presentation. "The engagement metrics are unlike anything we have seen." The meeting included Jackson Taylor, the CFO, whose questions probed deeper than I was comfortable with. He was particularly interested in how the algorithm determined content relevance. "The secret sauce," I deflected with a smile. "Proprietary methods. I would be happy to implement once we discuss terms." The offer came by the end of the meeting. Full development resources, a dedicated team, profit sharing on revenue generated by the technology, creative control over implementation, and most appealing of all, my name on the patent as lead inventor. There were red flags. The profit sharing percentage seemed oddly structured with benchmarks that triggered decreases rather than increases. The creative control clause included exceptions for business necessity. The patent language mentioned joint ownership in ways that seemed unnecessarily complex. But I was tired of working in my apartment, tired of limited testing capabilities, tired of being the brilliant guy nobody knew. So I signed with mental promises to clarify those clauses once the technology proved itself. Apex moved fast. Within weeks, I had a corner office and a team of 6 developers. The company invested millions in server infrastructure to support the processing demands of my algorithm. I was introduced as the visionary behind Apex's future at company meetings. Among my team was Tina Rodriguez, a back-end developer whose code was as elegant as it was efficient. She asked the right questions, challenged my assumptions in productive ways, and worked as tirelessly as I did. We fell into a rhythm, often working well past midnight, ordering takeout, and debating implementation strategies. During one of these late nights, 3 months into development, I added a feature I told no one about: a kill switch, a way to completely disable the system if necessary. It was buried deep in the code, disguised as routine error handling, accessible only through a specific sequence of commands that I alone knew. Call it paranoia. Call it insurance. I called it experience. The first full implementation test exceeded even my expectations. User engagement increased by 120%. Content delivery costs decreased by 37% due to more efficient targeting. The Apex executive team was ecstatic. Launch was scheduled for the following month. The app launched on a Thursday. By Friday evening, it had been downloaded 2 million times. By the end of the week, 5 million. Users were spending an average of 47 minutes per day on the platform, nearly triple the industry standard. Tech blogs wrote about the eerily accurate content recommendations. Business publications speculated about the algorithm behind it. Competitors began scrambling to replicate our results. Revenue flowed in from premium subscriptions and targeted advertising at unprecedented rates. I was invited to speak at tech conferences. My picture appeared in Industry Innovator magazine. Apex stock rose 68% in a month. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I was noticing troubling patterns. It started with meeting invitations that suddenly excluded me. Strategy sessions for executive team only. Product roadmap discussions, where my input would have been crucial. When I asked Amanda about it, she assured me it was just administrative streamlining. Then came the legal documents. Amendments to my original contract, presented as routine updates requiring my signature. Hidden in the dense legal language were clauses that gradually reduced my control over the technology and my share of the profits. I refused to sign, citing the need for legal review. Amanda's demeanor changed. Our once warm interactions became strictly professional. She stopped dropping by my office to check on progress. My emails about strategic decisions received delayed, non-committal responses. Tina noticed it too. During one late-night debugging session, she mentioned overhearing conversations. "They talk differently when you are not in the room," she said carefully. "Jackson keeps referring to your algorithm as the company asset. Not your name, not even the product name, just the asset." By then, revenue had reached $50 million. My bonus payments tied to revenue milestones were consistently delayed for accounting review. When they finally arrived, they were smaller than contracted with deductions for development costs not previously disclosed. The systematic sidelining became impossible to ignore. Team members were reassigned, without my knowledge replaced by developers who reported directly to Eric Nelson Jackson's nephew, who had joined the company with the ambiguous title of Product Oversight Director. Technical decisions I had explicitly opposed were implemented overnight. Features that compromised user privacy for greater data collection, aggressive notification systems that bordered on harassment, all antithetical to my vision, but highly profitable in the short term. I was being erased while the technology I created was being exploited. In meetings, Eric began presenting product improvements I had developed as his own initiatives. My objections were noted and ignored. When media requested interviews, I was suddenly unavailable, and Eric appeared instead, describing my algorithm as our team innovation. The smoking gun came through carelessness. An email thread accidentally included me discussing the replacement timeline and knowledge transfer completion before my transition. They were planning to remove me entirely, preparing for the day when they no longer needed the creator to maintain the creation. Revenue hit $150 million as user growth continued exponentially. International markets were opening. Partnership offers arrived from major content providers. And my bonus payments stopped, completely cited as pending final performance review. I worked later than usual one night trying to document my contributions and secure copies of my original code. The office was nearly empty when I noticed light under the conference room door. Through the glass partition, I could see Amanda Jackson and two people I recognized as patent attorneys. I should have walked away. Instead, I entered citing the need for some marketing materials I had left during the afternoon meeting. They were too surprised to hide the documents. Patent transfer forms. Technology ownership reassignments. A complete rebranding strategy that removed all mention of me or my original concept. And most damning of all, termination papers with my name clearly visible. "This was not how we wanted to have this conversation," Amanda said, her voice professional but cold. "Clearly," I replied, picking up the termination document. $200 million in revenue, and this is the appreciation I get. Jackson did not bother with pretense. "The algorithm is company property, developed with company resources. Your contribution has been compensated according to contract terms." Compensated. "You have been withholding my bonuses for months. You are violating every agreement we made." "Our legal team disagrees," Amanda said. "The original agreement gives us significant latitude in determining appropriate compensation based on ongoing performance evaluation." Performance. "The technology has exceeded every metric we established." "The technology," has Jackson emphasized. "But your role as integration lead has become problematic. Your resistance to necessary monetization strategies has cost us potential revenue." They had planned this carefully. The paperwork was extensive, prepared over months. A non-disclosure agreement that would prevent me from discussing my own creation. A non-compete clause spanning 5 years. A settlement figure that was insultingly small given the revenue generated. "If you fight this," Jackson added, "we are prepared for extended litigation. The company has resources you do not." 2 security guards appeared at the door. My keycard was deactivated as I watched. I was allowed 30 minutes to collect personal items from my office, supervised the entire time. No access to my development computer. No opportunity to download files or contact my team. I left the building carrying a cardboard box containing 3 years of my life, watching through the glass doors as Amanda and Jackson returned to their meeting, already moving forward with their plans. My creation would continue generating millions without me. My name would be erased from its history. And legally, there seemed little I could do about it. The next weeks passed in a blur of depression and disbelief. I hardly left my apartment. Calls went unanswered. Emails piled up unread. The betrayal was so complete, it left me hollow. Tina called repeatedly. When I finally answered, her voice was tight with controlled anger. "They told everyone you quit," she said. "That you had creative differences about the future of the product. They had us sign new confidentiality agreements the same day. Eric has taken over the development team. And everyone just accepted that. What choice did we have? But that is not why I am calling. They are making changes, George. Fundamental changes to the algorithm. They are harvesting user data in ways we never discussed. Selling behavioral predictions to third parties. The privacy protections you built in are being systematically removed. Each revelation was another blow. But something was happening as Tina spoke. The fog of depression was burning away, replaced by cold, clear purpose. There is more, she continued. They are preparing for an IPO. They are projecting a billion-dollar valuation based almost entirely on your technology. My technology. My life's work. The culmination of every lesson, every setback, every moment of inspiration, being twisted into something I never intended and erased from its origin story. Then I remembered the kill switch. That night, I reviewed the protocol. The sequence of commands that would render the entire system inoperable. I had built it carefully, ensuring it would only affect the core algorithm, not any user data or peripheral systems. It would effectively freeze the application's ability to function while leaving all infrastructure intact. I needed leverage, not vengeance. I needed truth, not destruction. This was about justice, not spite. The following day, I contacted Sarah Bennett, a technology rights attorney, recommended by a former classmate. She listened to my story without interruption, then asked the one question that mattered. Can you prove you are the original creator? Beyond any document they might have had you sign, I could. I had maintained private repositories containing development versions with timestamps predating my employment at Apex. I had email correspondence discussing the concept before ever meeting Amanda. And most importantly, I understood the technology at a level no one at Apex could replicate, evidenced by the changes they were struggling to implement without me. Sarah helped me document everything. We gathered statements from former colleagues willing to testify about my role. We compiled a complete development history that proved the technology was substantially complete before Apex provided any resources. We also discovered something troubling. Apex was not just exploiting my algorithm for content recommendation. They were using it to build psychological profiles of users for targeted advertising that bordered on manipulation. They were selling predictive data to political campaigns and financial institutions. All uses I had explicitly opposed during development. With Sarah's guidance, I composed a detailed letter to Apex's board of directors. It outlined my contributions, the unethical applications of my technology, and my requests, proper credit, as the creator fair compensation reflecting the revenue generated and immediate implementation of ethical data usage policies. The response came from Jackson, a tersely worded legal threat promising significant consequences if I continued making defamatory claims. Amanda left a voicemail, her voice professionally pleasant but with an edge of warning. You should be grateful for the opportunity Apex provided, she said. Many developers have ideas. We gave yours a platform. Fighting this will only damage whatever future prospects you might have in the industry. They had made their position clear. They believed their legal position was unassailable. They thought I would fold under pressure, accept their erasure of my contribution, and disappear, quietly. The date for their investor presentation was announced. May 15th. The day before their IPO filing. The day they would present my technology as their innovation to potential investors. The day they expected to solidify their billion-dollar valuation. I chose a coffee shop 3 blocks from Apex headquarters. Close enough to maintain the secure connection needed far enough to avoid recognition. I ordered a large coffee and opened my laptop at 9:30 a.m. 45 minutes before the scheduled presentation. At 10 a.m. Precisely, I entered the command sequence. 16 characters that accessed the deeply buried protocol. A confirmation prompt. A final keystroke. Across the world, the application froze. Content stopped loading. Recommendations disappeared. The core functionality that had attracted millions of users simply ceased to operate. On my screen, I opened the live stream of the investor presentation. Amanda was mid-sentence, describing the revolutionary technology that made Apex unique in the marketplace. The confidence in her voice faltered as aides rushed to the stage, urgently whispering in her ear. Jackson's face drained of color as he checked his phone. The presentation derailed in real time. Potential investors murmured in confusion. Apex stock, which had been climbing steadily in anticipation of the IPO, began to drop. First 5 points, then 10, then freefall. My phone rang. Amanda, then Jackson. Then numbers I did not recognize, presumably other Apex executives. I let them all go to voicemail. Instead, I sent a single email to the entire board of directors. I believe we need to resume our discussion about appropriate credit and compensation for the technology you are presenting today. I am available to meet at your convenience. My attorney will accompany me. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 3 p.m. that same day. The Apex boardroom felt different from the last time I had entered it. Gone was the confident disdain. Gone was the dismissive superiority. These were people facing a crisis that could destroy everything they had built. Sarah sat beside me, calm and prepared. Across the table, Amanda and Jackson flanked Harold Winters, the board chairman who had flown in specifically for this meeting. Legal counsel sat on both sides, documents spread before them. "You have made your point, Mr. Wilson," Harold began. Most effectively, I might add. "Now perhaps we can discuss a resolution that serves everyone's interests." "My interests are simple," I replied. "Recognition for my creation, fair compensation for the value it has generated, and ethical application of the technology moving forward." The negotiation lasted 5 hours. Terms were proposed, rejected, modified, and debated. Sarah proved her worth, repeatedly catching subtle legal traps and ensuring the language was precise and enforceable. By the end, we had an agreement. Public acknowledgement of my role as creator and lead developer. Financial compensation commensurate with the revenue generated, including back payment of all withheld bonuses and a percentage of ongoing revenue. Implementation of strict data ethics guidelines overseen by an independent review board. And perhaps most satisfying, my algorithm would be renamed with my input permanently acknowledging its true origin. The kill switch was deactivated at 8:17 p.m. By midnight, the application was fully functional again. By morning, Apex stock had stabilized. The IPO was delayed but not canceled. The company would recover, but with a new understanding of the value of the human behind the innovation. I did not return to Apex. The settlement provided more than enough capital to pursue my own vision. 3 months later, I founded Wilson Innovation Labs in a small office in Berkeley. Our mission statement prominently displayed in the reception area: ethical technology that serves humanity, not exploits it. Tina was my first hire. She brought 4 other developers from Apex, all talented people who shared our vision of technology with conscience. We started small, focusing on applications that enhanced human connection rather than exploited it. Predictive algorithms that helped people find meaningful content, not addictive distractions. The industry took notice. Our reputation for both innovation and integrity attracted clients who wanted cutting-edge solutions without ethical compromises. We grew steadily, deliberately remaining mid-sized to maintain